foster friends and family. I'm Charles, and you're listening to the Foster Dad Directive podcast, where we explore the foster care system and my experience with it. In this episode, we'll be talking about MCL, Section 722.958 Alpha. MCL's Michigan Compiled Laws, in case you want to look this one up. It is pretty important, I believe, if you're a foster parent. I'm still a little lost on the significance of Michigan compiled laws and everything, and kind of trying to traverse this. But I did find this one, and it sets some ground rules that I think will be super helpful, especially if you're being kind of batted around like we are. So, as always, please know that I'm not a trained professional. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the host, and in the future, other hosts or guests, and do not constitute professional advice unless otherwise stated by said guest. Please ensure you seek adequate and effective legal counsel to best protect yourself in this ever-changing system, especially outside of Michigan. For updates, we really don't have any. The baby's he's been gone. It'll be a week tomorrow, so still kind of coming to terms with that. And kind of trying to get, my emotions and everything. And also sent an email to the governor, the senators, and a few representatives about the actions of the agency we've been dealing with. So I will probably go over that email next week. Unfortunately, this episode will come out a little bit late. My grandfather passed away over the weekend, and I'm still trying to come to terms with it. And I don't think it's truly hit me yet. So I'm kind of waiting for that to happen, but I will hopefully be working on getting the podcast out a bit sooner and more timely. There honestly are not a lot of people listening, so I've been trying to pace myself. I think I'm getting a little bit better at public speaking. I've been trying to stream video games and stuff like that and kind of get used to everything, but I think my speaking's improving. I think I'm coming down with a little bit of a rhythm for the podcast, so hopefully, by the time I get like a co-host or any guests on here, I will be actually decent to talk to. So I'm really hoping, if nothing else, at least this has helped building like my public speaking stuff. So let's get on to the MCL, honestly. So 722.958 Alpha is cited as the Foster Parents Bill of Rights law. It contains rights, grievance procedure, hearing, remedy, complaint, report, investigations, subject to appropriations of funds. And I'll kind of go over what pertains to me and then leave out some of the drier stuff, kind of where, funds are appropriated in a few different areas that I saw that don't really pertain to me and aren't really necessary, especially with how dry this material is going to be anyways. So for subsection 1, it says this section may be known as the Foster Parents Bill of Rights. It essentially goes over everything you are entitled to as a foster parent and the protections that you have. Subsection 2, to ensure each foster parent is treated with dignity, respect, trust, and consideration. The supervising agency shall ensure that each foster parent has access to and receives the following. So this essentially goes over everything you are entitled to as a foster parent to not only help protect you, but also help protect your foster children and help ensure that you provide the best care that you can for them. And it's the agency we've been dealing with does not seem to treat us with dignity, respect, trust, or really consideration. Especially not trust, because they lie to us constantly. We have just dealt with so much where they either withhold the truth or, in protecting the kids and they're running away, and the other instances where they told us we had to give our 30 days. Not really dignity, respect, or trust, because that was a blatant lie and not only endangered us, but also endangered the child. So not really following through on that. But, I don't know how we'd honestly even prove it or going about holding them responsible outside of the email that I sent. And I'll go over that email here in one of the next few episodes along with the response emails I have received, so we can kind of see how that's going about and see what kind of responses I'm getting. 2A actually goes to state that foster parents are entitled to explanation and clarification regarding the supervising agency's role and expectations, information considering the agency's policies and procedures, and changes to those policies or procedures relative to the role as a foster parent or the child in the foster parent's care within 30 days of those changes being made. I don't know if any changes have been made in the last 3 years. I would assume so, but I don't think we've received any notice of them. We have received a lot of paperwork, so honestly, who knows what we received. Never been really explained out to us all that well, so unfortunately, it hasn't been able to be looked through as formally by us, especially when we're given information, but also dealing with, children who are running away, threatening us, trying to extort us, injuring our cat. So, it's probably being followed through on that front, but honestly, I don't even know how I'd keep track. Lately, I've been so exhausted that, yesterday after finding out everything about my grandpa, I slept all day. I went to bed, tried to stay on my work schedule, went to bed about 6 a.m., got up for dinner, laid back down, got up for work, and that was it. I was so exhausted. I had zero energy. I slept the entire time. I'm sure it's a big pile between depression and stress and everything else, and being sick over the weekend just kind of snowballed into having no energy. So honestly, it becomes a lot, especially when you're getting paperwork all the time. I have 6 different binders for each kid that we've had in our care with just hundreds probably of pages of different paperwork and forms and just everything that I've kept to try to maintain those records for the children. So it's hard to keep track on if they're telling us if these things are changing or not, honestly. And 2B actually goes over treatment of treatment by supervising agency does not violate the Elliott-Larsen Civil Rights Act of 1976. This actually goes over defining civil rights to prohibit discriminatory practices, policies, and customs in the exercise of those rights based upon religion, race, color, national origin, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, height, weight, familial status, marital status, or source of income. And then it goes on to preserve the confidentiality of records for arrest and other parts of this act and punishment for that. And then 2C is the evaluation and feedback regarding the foster parent's provision of care role, and states that we are provided feedback, meaning copies of written annual assessments of rule compliance and written special evaluation reports upon completion. So essentially us getting accused of having a really cluttered house and how we had dog food on the floor, or how the one kid tried to extort us and then we had to do the CPS thing. Those all had to come to us in written form stating what was the accusations, what was the punishment, what was done to maintain all that stuff. Essentially, for all of ours, they've all been pretty much farces, honestly. It's all been a load of BS and extremely aggravating and been a complete waste of time. And the reports take 45 days to complete. So, especially with the clutter and stating that it was unsafe for the infant. You felt it was unsafe, but you wasted 45 days going through this rigmarole to achieve nothing. Nothing really happened other than they kept an eye on our house, which, is absolutely aggravating and felt like a complete waste of our time, especially when during that time it was us taking in 2 kids who had nothing and us having to buy everything. The agency didn't provide anything. The boys GAL didn't provide anything. It was all us. So that was absolutely moronic on their behalf and a complete waste of my time, and kind of part of the reason I've started to resent the agency. I'll never have bad feelings about the kids. I won't do anything for them, like I've said before. For the ones who have, tried to extort us and then made me have to deal with CPS over just her not being able to do what she wanted. She was going to have to go through a big change because she was treating us horribly. But also, I don't hold a resentment against the kids. They've been through so much and dealt with so much that honestly, after seeing everything the kids have been through, I'd be more surprised if they weren't this resentful and hateful towards everybody in the system. So honestly, as hurtful as it is, it just kind of is to be expected with everything they've gone through. And 2D says that the necessary training to enable a foster parent to provide quality services to children who are or will be in his or her care, that includes information on the policies developed by the supervising agency designed to support and aid foster, kinship, and adoptive families relative to foster care and prospective adoptive placement, which, as I've stated before, they have not really provided the right training, especially not for the high of care of kids we've received. We've dealt with ones that have so much trauma they've been through. They need so much care. Just being there for them doesn't do enough. Even though we tried to make them feel like family as best we could, it just unfortunately did not cover all the bases that we had. I apologize about this episode, and I'm trying to learn to slow down and everything. Plus, I'm fighting getting over a cold, so kind of all my stuff's everywhere right now, honestly. Subsection 2E does also state that necessary support for the foster parent that includes all of the following: reasonable relief and respite, which respite is essentially when you need either going on vacation, it's you plan your respite out in advance, or, we had the very first kid, we had her running away. So at one point we're just like, it's been multiple times that you've ran away. We need a night away because honestly, you're just going to come back and try to run away again. So there's no point of you coming back here. If you are going to run away again, we'll need some both parties, essentially, both us and the foster kid, just kind of need a cool down period. So the agency's always done really good with respite. I mean, they have to when it comes to vacations, and we give them plenty of time. But also, in stuff like that, they've been pretty good too. They did call us once to give respite to the first kid, and I had to be like, that's actually our kids, so no, I can't actually provide respite. Which I think she was new, so she was super embarrassed, but it was also funny to just have that happen, honestly. The second part of E actually states that the supervising agency staff will be available to us for assistance dealing with family loss and separation when a child leaves a foster parent's home. They've not done any of that, so I can fully state that they've never offered us assistance. Even for the infant, they know we've been going through a hard time with that. His foster care worker is a complete joke and completely incompetent, has not offered us anything. The only person to actually reach out to us and ask us about this has been our newest licensing worker. Our original one was really good. She wasn't with them long. Right after she did our licensing, she actually went down to part-time and left the agency, and that was 3 years ago. She did really well, but our newest one, Michaela, she has been an absolute angel, godsend, whatever, and actually been interested in everything we've gone through and sympathetic. And on this whole thing too, E3 also states access to information about local and statewide support groups, which could include local and statewide foster, kinship, and adoptive parent associations. Never received any of that. Never even really known they were a thing. Once I was talking about volunteering, and they offered to let me volunteer with our foster parents to be a support, but I'm new. What am I really going to help with? So that one kind of just hasn't really been providing us to any meaningful way. So it's been kind of a flop on that one, and felt like we've just been left alone, honestly, for a lot of it. Subsection 2F does state that we have access to appropriate supervising agency staff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for emergency information and assistance. That they've always been really good on. The on-call have always been pretty good. I mean, when the one kid who tried to extort us ran away, they kind of just let her do what she wanted, which in the long term, not really helpful, but I mean, in the short term, till they get things figured out, I mean, they didn't really figure anything useful. I'll go over that once I go over that episode, but also they've been there, they've provided help with us, so I won't fault them on that, honestly. But G, the timely financial reimbursement for foster children in the foster parents' care, it says that means payment issued within 30 days after submission of accurate and complete documentation. That is laughable, honestly. They failed to pay 16,000 miles worth of mileage and graduation stuff. It's not about the money. The mileage, we probably wouldn't have taken them in or would have needed transportation if we weren't going to be reimbursed, but we were always told we were going to be reimbursed for the mileage. So we haven't asked for any other money. We never asked for mileage to doctor's appointments. This was literally school, but because the kids were 12 plus miles away from school, so that means I was doing, it was either 12 or 17, but it was between my other job and going to there, it was 100 plus miles a day in mileage to school, low amount of sleep trying to get them there, and honestly it was just way more mileage than we would have been willing to normally put, because it gets costful. You have gas, oil changes, car maintenance, once you start adding all that high mileage on there, and they failed to pay all of it. So I mean, the least they could have paid was school mileage, and instead they kind of stiffed us on all of it for the last 3 years. We've gotten one check. I know we were filling them out right, but honestly, it's just kind of a little frustrating. And H goes over timely investigation of complaints concerning the foster parent's license. Essentially, they have 45 calendar days, and they can request an extension up to 90 days. Honestly, for ours, it was both of them have been kind of a farce. The one about the clutter and stuff, we explained everything based on that, and the kid trying to extort us. I mean, it was pointless. I had the text from the kid stating exactly what she was going to do and try to extort me to let her stay with her friends. So, I mean, it was just ridiculous. And at one point, even during that one, the foster care worker said that she was still going to write us up based on the fact that we were having a complaint against us. And I was going to lose my mind because I would have been extremely disrespectful, honestly, because we were already going through a lot with that whole situation, plus having to deal with a whole bunch of other stuff. And to just have a kid extort us and then us to be punished for it was absolutely unacceptable. And 2I actually states a hearing regarding licensing as provided in subsection 11(2) of 1973, so I really don't understand that one. It goes into a whole different MCL. It's PA 116 MCL 722.121 if you want to go look at that one. 2J goes over decisions concerning licensing corrective action plan that are specifically tied to the applicable licensing rules regarding the licensing violation. They actually broke this one on the clutter one because they tried to have us put an air purifier in the boys' room as part of the complaint. So I actually have the paperwork on that one, so I could hit them with that one because A, there was nothing in the complaint about anything that would have been air purifying other than they claimed pet smells, but that doesn't make any sense to have an air purifier because the pet smells were A, either downstairs or B, in the other foster kid's bedroom, and I already have a whole house air purifier. So that one actually upset me too, as they're trying to just force all this other stuff into there. I'm pretty sure it was because the boys were sick so much, but they also didn't have immune systems. So that kind of explains that one and just means they didn't pay attention to anything. And 2K actually states that we are permitted by state and federal law, copies of information relative to foster family and services contained in personal foster home and foster parent records. So essentially anything related to the child and potentially their previous foster homes and any records related to our own as well. Which also goes into 2L, which is information before placement of child regarding the child's behavior, individual or special needs, background, health history, or other issues relative to the child that may jeopardize the health and safety of foster family or alter the manner in which the foster care should be provided. So, which explains on all of them that we weren't provided none of this stuff, especially the first kid. They knew she was a chronic runaway, never provided that. There was stuff on the fourth kid as well, the one who tried to extort us, a whole bunch of like mental health stuff there. And the sixth one who injured our cat, which they should have known about and probably had information on, but didn't provide any information to us on those kids for the most part. We didn't get really much of that at all. And this relates to 2M, which is the option to refuse placement of a child into the foster home or to request upon reasonable notice the removal of a child from a foster home, which we've never been denied the right to refuse placement, but with the reasonable notice one, you also have to remember this does not include emergencies, as a lot of those that we wanted the children removed were emergencies. I mean, the one was running away, which is not safe for her at all. The one who threatened to assault Cassie, my wife, and then ran away and ended up on the FBI's missing persons list, or the one who injured our cat and the worker said to just lock the cat in a room, all were emergencies, so which means they failed this one super hard. And as I stated before, 2N kind of goes over getting information regarding the number of times the child has been moved and the reason for the move and everything, names and telephone numbers of previous foster parents. We were never really provided that at all, any of that information, so they've really failed on that one. We were rarely told why a foster kid was being removed, if at all. But 2O actually goes over advance notice of a child's move. Just know if you are in Michigan, they only have to give you 14 days notice, which is a load of bullocks to me me. They will kind of update you on the case, but really won't completely keep you up to date and in the loop, and will kind of avoid things and then just kind of throw 14 days in there. So this will be the case unless like the child is being removed for something you're being accused of, or if the court orders that the child be moved and they can't advance notice you. But know that in the most part you only get 14 days, but have to give 30, which makes no sense to me. If you're requiring me to give 30, at least give me 30. It's a lot to go through, having a change of having a kid who you've cared for over a year, just up and leave you with like no previous time out of the home. I mean, for the infant, he had one overnight away from us, and for the total of he was with us like 15 months, he had been away from us for 7 days. So, I mean, to up and bounce a kid away from us, I mean, not only was it not good for his mental health, but not good for our mental health, which I'm going to do episodes about mental health in general for all parties and kind of go over them in future episodes, because I think it's super important, even though he is a child, to actually do that. But all of this is covered in a bunch of different areas and laws that you can look up in different MCLs and everything. And with that, 2P actually goes over the notification and the option to participate in writing or in person meetings concerning the children. So for like court and everything you'll be in on, I don't know. The agency never really kept us updated on different meetings that they went over for the kids. There were some, but they didn't always provide us with that information, which didn't make us feel like meaningful participants in the development of or revision or both to the case plan for the children. Honestly, sometimes case plans, we did go over them with the caseworker, but I mean, there were a lot of meetings we weren't actually part of, and then just kind of the case plans came to us after the stuff happened, which, as I said, for 2R, timely and complete written notice of from the supervising agency of all court proceedings, and that includes all the information on them, which has to be given to us within 7 days of the supervising agency receiving them. But for 2S, it does give me a little bit of hope. This one does state that we are given the option to be considered as a foster parent when the child formerly is placed back with a foster parent re-entering foster care, and to be considered if the child becomes available for adoption. Honestly, this goes based off if the placement is consistent with the best interest of the child. And if the child gets placed with biological family, I honestly don't think we'd ever have a chance. We wanted to be considered for the kid who was removed for our care, but honestly, he's with biological family. Even if we think it's in his best interest because they're not following any of the health stuff or like the mental health stuff that he was going through, I don't think it would go our way in terms of the adoption. I mean, as soon as he left, we just got false accusations of us telling he was moving anyways. So I have no faith that they have our best interest or his best interest in mind, especially when they took the infant and did that drastic move without really giving him time to prep. So I don't know. I don't think they really follow any of this stuff, honestly. And I don't think MDHHS has the resources to really follow most of this stuff. So I guess if I go through and put in another complaint with MDHHS, we'll see how that goes. But honestly, I don't think any of it really is going to go our way, honestly, especially in terms of the adoption. I believe I talked with Cassie and I told her we should probably just back out. Not because we don't care about the kid. I don't see it going towards us. Plus, he's with biological family. All it's going to do is drag it out and leave it up in the air. And then, I don't know. With the kid who tried to extort us, we were going to try to adopt her sister so the siblings could be together. But then we backed out of that one because honestly, it wouldn't have been beneficial for her. And then honestly, I'm glad we did with the way everything went. But it also would have kept that poor kid up in limbo instead of getting her adopted. So there was no point of us trying to make some kid into, leaving him in limbo essentially, while we don't even know if she would have been a good fit here, honestly, when she was already with a family who cared about her. So in that part, you just got to kind of know as well when to kind of like back down in terms of what's best for the child. It's just a waste of resources, honestly, if we just kept fighting for something that probably wasn't going to be completely in their best interest, even if we thought it would be. Which this goes on to Rule 3, or subsection 3, the supervising agency shall maintain a written policy describing the grievance procedure for foster parents and prospective adoptive parents to address any non-compliance with items in subsection 2. I'm going to have to look into that. and actually do some digging and see what I can do and try to hold them accountable for all this stuff. And 4 kind of goes over the timeline they have with filing the grievance, what happens when something isn't followed. It's kind of boring. And 5 also is if the grievance isn't resolved, how to continue on and what acts cover this as well. Honestly, it's a whole lot of information that I really don't have any experience with yet. So, I mean, in the future, I might go over them. But right now, if you want to go look at them, it could be kind of useful. But I don't have any experience or any information to really add to that. In subsection 6 actually says the sole remedy that may be provided under the section is limited to injunction relief, which injunction relief is court-ordered remedy that compels a party to stop or start doing something specific to prevent irreparable harm. Honestly, I don't think anything's going to happen. Based off that, I don't even know if they'd refund us like for mileage now, because all they could do is say stop doing that. Stop not paying, so that really doesn't make any sense to me, honestly. Which subsection 7 actually says a foster parent may file a complaint with the Office of the Child Advocate to investigate the supervising agency's alleged violation of law, rule, or policy. And it goes over the MCL and everything for that as well. And that has happened. I do know that the Child Advocate did investigate them for a while. It just kind of blew over. I think it was about them not filling out the information for the teeth and kind of just putting that on the back burner and just ignoring it and not getting it done and just blatantly not knowing what to do, because the care worker actually, or the foster care worker actually said that he didn't think that a judge's signature needed to be obtained, even though the dental place said it did. So I'm not sure exactly how far it goes, but if you want to look into that, it does provide the MCL for that as well. Which subsection 8 actually goes over supervising agencies providing information regarding like grievances and administrative hearings to appropriate subcommittees in like the Senate and House of Representatives. And it kind of goes over the information on what they have to include in that report, which I should probably fill out a report for all the mileage and everything just so it's included in that report so that they're seen. Because it does say that it does actually go to the department's budget, so this could possibly affect them, especially I know because the foster care agencies are currently in a lawsuit with the state of Michigan. And finally, subsection 9 states that the child advocate's investigations of the violations under this section are subject to an appropriation of funds for those investigations. So, I mean, with the foster care system already getting their funding slashed, I really don't know how much would actually be put towards investigations, nor do I really want to truly waste money. It's one of those things where I really don't know what to do. I want to put the complaints in just to try to do it, but I also need to look up exactly where to put them in, because I've filed complaints with so many different places and it just hasn't seemed to go anywhere. So it just feels like it's a waste of my time half the time, and I'm so mentally drained, physically, emotionally, and everything. But I do want to thank you for listening. I know this was a little bit drier, and I did stumble over a lot of my words. Reading these MCLs is pretty hard. It's a lot of stern language, and this one was worded a little bit weird in some of the parts. So I think that's kind of why it threw me off, along with the, everything that's been going on lately. So please know I'm trying to better myself and get better at these episodes, and hopefully they will be getting better or have been getting better. But thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share. You can email me at fosterdaddirective@gmail.com with any feedback, ideas, or stories, anything like that. Please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'm still waiting. I'm finishing up the book, The Reset Method, along with trying to finish the podcast for Union of Dads. So hopefully I will be able to get those 2 individuals on and get them interviewed and everything. But thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.